Hello and welcome back to my channel. Today I always want to run you guys through Gukesh Damraju's dominance before the candidates and the game during the candidates, which secured him his victory. Gukesh was the third youngest grandmaster. He's only 17 years of age and actually is the youngest man to ever win the candidates tournament. I want to apologize for any sniffling or coughing. I am a little bit sick. Hope that's okay with everyone. Let's go. Gukesh starts out with knight f3. Let's go back to game analysis. And we get c5. Then g3, g6, they both being kettle. Their bishop's just trying to get a lot of presence in the diagonal. Pawn to c3, and he's going to strike with d4 right in the center. Knight to a6, I would assume, like we saw in the last game we analyzed, which was, I believe it was Palbenko versus Bobby Fischer and Palbenko versus Miguel Tall. Where Knight was able to land here and able to take. No, that was Tori Rapido versus Emmanuel Lasker. Knight was able to land here, take the bishop. We got a very interesting game. And this move prevents that and also builds for b4. So we get b4 after the move d5, striking in the center. You always want to strike on the different side of the board. b6 from Nigel Short. Nigel Short does not play. Nigel Short is an absolute beast of a grandmaster. Bishop to f4. Pawn takes pawn, pawn takes pawn, and knight to c7. Trying to reroute the knight. Knight to c3, and bishop b7. You may be surprised to hear that Gukesh did win this game, but this was the last time he had an advantage. And this is not even an advantage. This is more so of the computer liking his position a little bit more. Queen, sorry, not queen b3. That's what they wanted, queen b3. Rook c1. Why would you want queen to b3? It's a lot more active. Maybe you're not attacking the pawn, but it's a lot more active. Eventually, you want to get rid of this pawn. It's a lot more active. It makes the position a lot more bearable. But rook c1. And rook to c8. Another chance to play a move like queen a4. Just getting more active, taking advantage of the rook moving over and attacking this pawn. But instead, we get b5, and we get knight e4. Sliding into the center, just having a monster knight. Obviously, you want to take that knight, and then you're going to want to take another knight and slide in. Rook takes rook, queen takes rook, queen takes pawn. So here it's equal. And if you ask any grandmaster, any international master, any player, who do you want to play? You don't even show them the evaluation. Who do you want to play with? You're gonna say black. Why? It's a very open position. This queen is so dominant. And look at this bishop. It's beautiful. So is this bishop. But they kind of see each other. And this is a little bit of a liability. This bishop, pretty good. I already like this bishop. But look at this. Look at these two rooks. They're horrible. But if you look at the eval, you're obviously going to see what position you want to play. And knight c6 was the only move that was decent. Bishop c6, c6. And now this pawn's going to go a running. Obviously, you want to slide your rook over to prevent that. And queen to c2. This has many different ideas, like the rook sliding over to d1, and also the rook sliding over to c1. After f5, we get queen to b3. Check. Because obviously you open up the king like that, and king f8, and rook d1, like I previously had said. Just opening up the lines, getting that full file. Now, queen to e5, and rook to d5. Why? It's an error. It's an error because after queen c3, what really is there to defend the pawn? Takes, right? Takes, and then defend this pawn. It's impossible. So g4, trying to cause a disruptance, and e6. So Rook d6 by Gukesh, defending his pawn and also attacking on e6. It's not, excuse me, it's not an impressive move at all, but still, you gotta appreciate it. And then you get the only good move here, which is Rook d7 check. King f6, Rook a7, h6, c7, and Bishop e5. And that pawn is gone. What do you do when there's such a coordinated attack? You cause, well, sorry, you don't cause a disruptance. You kind of limit the movement on the side of the board, causing a disruptance, basically. Rook a8. It's not a game losing at all. In fact, there is really no move that loses the advantage, but Rook a8 is just one of those moves where you're kind of weakening, and Bishop to f1. If you ask Gukesh what the point of Bishop f1 is, I don't think he himself would have an answer for you. Not really any point after Rook takes a3. I guess there's Bishop b5. I guess the whole point is to go Bishop d7. And even then, he doesn't follow along with it. Rook to b8, Bishop c7, and Rook to c8. And the only good move, Rook to c3. King to g2, pawn g5, takes, and Rook f8 check, trying to get a loose pawn, and Bishop to a6. It's another mistake by Gukesh. Looks like one of my games, if I had to be completely honest. Rook c6. And the point is you're going to not gain tempo, sorry. The point is you're trying to block a potential check. Bishop to c8, Rook f6. Check. King d6. f3. Completely losing at the Grandmaster level. It's completely lost for Gukesh. I'm wondering, how does Gukesh win this game? Takes. It's over. b5. e4. Takes. Pawn's running. Game's over. And after bonus time, King to d3. Bishop g4. Bishop to d6. You pin, which is a mistake. But King e5 is also a mistake. Check. And back. And he finds a different move, which is Rook to f4. King c2. Rook f2 check. b3, Rook f8. The computer there really wanted Rook to d2 to set up a check on d3, but obviously went against that line. And now you see the point. King e5. King can stay there temporarily. There's no checking square because the bishop covers it. And both players just shuffling their pieces, trying to get better positionally. Check here. How does Nigel Short lose this game? Nigel Short, I believe, did not think that he was winning. Somehow, did not think that this position would have been good. Somehow, obviously, if you look in this position, 3 pawns to 1, it's obviously a very good position, but I don't know. Nigel Short loses his game. And Gukesh gets his first GM norm by beating a Grandmaster. He also goes on to win a tournament in Serbia, getting 7.5, I believe, out of 10, or out of 8. I do not fully recall. I will get data on that later. Gukesh was at IM during this game, ended up winning, and then had to get one more GM norm, because he got the one from Serbia winning a tournament, and he got this one from being a GM. So how did he get his last one? Well, he needed a rating norm, and he had to get 2,500, and we'll show you that very soon. Coming up next, obviously the game, him, Gukesh versus Dinesh Sharma, or Sharma Dinesh. This game pretty much gave Gukesh the candidates tournament. After this game, all he needed was a draw to at least get into tie breaks, which allowed him to relax. Opening with the move e4, we see the development of Gukesh moving into e4 instead of knight f3. He responds to e5, knight f3, knight c6, bishop b5, and knight f6. I know you guys have probably seen this game hundreds of times, but we have to see it. We get e3, bishop c5, castle, and knight d4. And then just sliding into the position much like we saw with Nigel Short. We get captures back with the bishop. And we get knight to d2, just trying to transition the knight a little bit, possibly into attacking the bishop. We get c3. We use the pawn to attack the bishop, and he slides back, preparing most likely for knight c4. We get a5 and knight c4. So we're just trying to position the knight better. Knight to a3, castles by black, and then queen f3, d5. So now we officially have our first break in the middle, and Farouja's doing his thing. And the computer here suggests h3, but we get bishop c2. Is Gukesh gonna throw away his candidate's chances? We get g6, rook to e1, and bishop to e6. So far, so good for Alireza Farouja, but he has 56 minutes on the clock. A 12-minute time advantage is not as critical as you may think. C takes d5, e takes d5, c takes d5, and h3 from Gukesh. Rook 8, and then as our first slight inaccuracy, they wanted knight to h5, which Alireza isn't really known for playing moves like that. So we get rook to e8, bishop a4, and e4 takes, and I would expect, obviously, for Gukesh to not be like me and to not hang his queen. We get queen to e2 and rook to e7. Knight to f1, trying to reroute the knight possibly to this g3 square where it can attack this pawn. Bishop to b3, seeking a trade and opening up the rook. Pawn to a4, that pawn push taking up space. Very nice. Knight, bishop to e3, getting the bishop out. They're also looking for a trade and to prevent the movement of this e pawn. a3, trying to get all the way through, and we get c4. Knight to h5. Ladies and gentlemen, we have entered into where Gukesh goes insane. First, we begin with pawn to g3. Bishop c5 and pawn to b3. Now, the computer may not like this position, but the computer can go buzz off. Pawn to f5. The computer obviously does not know who's on the other side of the board. The computer does not know that Gukesh is on the other side of the board. Bishop takes bishop, and queen takes bishop. It looks pretty good for black. I mean, the pawns are so good. And look at these pieces. All these pieces are jumbled up, and you have to reactivate all of them. And black's pieces are semi-activated. I mean, this knight is kind of out of the way, but all you need to do is one move, and you're already semi where you want to be. Rook slides over to d1, and rook slides over to f8. Rook to d5. Gukesh finds these nice rook moves like you saw in the Nigel Short game, and it's just inaccurate sometimes. It looks really nice, but it's just inaccurate. And f4. I would want it on passant, but knight to f6 is also a good move, I guess. And rook to d2. We get a pawn break near the king. g4, g5. g5, g4. You know, especially in front of your king, is a terrible move. Even the canvas level. Knight to e3, reactivating his knight. G takes f4 and g takes f4 and g takes f4. Well, same thing. Queen f7, king h2, just getting off this line, this really open line, and maybe even planning to put his rook there too, or his queen. Knight to h5, queen to f2, just slowly building up. Rook to g6, and rook to back to d5 like it was earlier, and knight defending the pawn. Rook to d1, rook to h6. Some shuffling, but Gukesh is getting there. Rook g1, and he loses it a little bit. Rook to g6, and rook d1, and rook h6. Looking for a draw. You could make a draw here. Rook g6, and Gukesh declines the draw and plays queen h4. Ironically, gets into a drawn position, and rook takes g1. King takes g1, and king h8. Ali Reza, I think, just tried to put some pressure on Gukesh to make a move and makes a mistake. Every human will make a mistake. King f2, rook g8, and we have a winning advantage at the grandmaster level after the move queen h6. But obviously queen g5 is a mistake, and queen g6 misses the win. Queen takes queen, pawn takes pawn, pawn takes queen, and rook to d6. And the reason why this is so winning is because, first of all, if you play a move like knight d8, attacking as well as defending, eventually you're going to find yourself with very weakened pawns like the one on a3 and the one on b7. Rook to e8, rook takes g6, knight to e6, knight to d5, knight to d4, and rook to b7. And knight to c2, trying to sort of get his way into somewhere where he can take a pawn, like, for example, the a2 pawn, and push his pawn. Slides over, looking for a rook trade, rook h6, and pawn to c5. We have a passer, knight d4, king g2, rook slides over to give a check, king f2, rook h6, pawn to b4, rook takes 3. Okay, small little victory for Alireza, but in this position, there's nothing. Rook to h6, rook to c7, rook to h2 check. Just Alireza praying for something to happen. Maybe Gukesh, I don't know, goes blind on the board. God forbid something happens, and well, Gukesh with this win secured a lead in the candidates by half a point and kept it, and is the winner of the 2024 candidates tournament playing to the end. Thank you guys for watching. Hopefully you guys watched this far. I hope. Thank you so much for guys for watching.